All right, you are here with JD from the West Coast Crossover, and today I wanted to kind of stray away from our normal topic of Laker basketball, though we will get to that, but I wanted to actually talk about Kenyon Martin and Jeremy Lin, who were recently in the news, where Kenyon Martin was being critical of Jeremy Lin and accused him of trying to be black for wearing his hair in dreads. And I was actually kind of taken aback by the comments in this particular situation. But I think Jeremy Lin actually crafted the perfect response to Kenyon Martin. And technically, to me, he kind of beat him down intellectually with his rebuttal. But just what I've done today is actually I brought on a friend of mine. His name is Terrence Lin. And Terrence, he's actually of Asian descent. We're friends for a few years now. We met actually through work. And just through getting to know Terrence and talking to him, I found out we actually had very similar backgrounds. And actually what I wanted to do was bring him on so we could discuss not that topic particularly with Jeremy Lin and Kenyon Martin, as I feel that's been addressed already. Kenyon Martin's taken down the post, and he's kind of gotten flamed on the internet for his comments. But I really wanted to discuss the relationship between Asians and blacks, particularly in our age range. We're both in our 30s, kind of grew up in the 80s, both playing basketball, both hip-hop kids. So again, let me introduce my good friend Terrence Lin, if you don't mind saying hello.
How's it going, everybody? What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's happening, Terrence? Anyway, this is Terrence. I like to call him T-Money, so if you hear me refer to him as T-Money from time to time, just roll with him, man, because he's cool like that. And that actually kind of brings me to what my point is, man, and that is kind of basketball, hip-hop, and the Asian culture, and why I found it weird that Kenyon Martin would attack Jeremy Lin for having dreads. And the reason I say that is because, one, I kind of understand where Kenyon Martin was coming from in a sense, as far as black people in history have a history of getting kind of attacked, and our hair has been vilified and a source of ridicule and something that's been attached to us as a sign that we are inferior. So, you know, that's been our history dating back to way back in the past. And you move up to the present time, nowadays you see people from all cultures wearing what are significantly labeled as black hairstyles, and it's labeled as cool or a fad or something to be done that's really cool and out there and acceptable. And then black people have a problem because you get to choose to wear that and it's acceptable and it's fun and cool, but you never had to go through having people pull on it or call you names because of it, or you know, just talk bad about you because of it. So that's kind of where the problem is, just one of them, I guess, when it comes to the hair issue with black people and other cultures. Now, the reason I don't think that it applies to Jeremy Lin, because Kenyon Martin threw in there trying to be black. And I think it doesn't apply to Jeremy Lin because of the history with Asians and basketball and hip-hop, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, Terrence. Were you born in China, or are you first generation? Were you born here in America?
I'm first generation. I came to the States when I was in 6th grade. And, you know, to kind of, you know, add to your point, to some degree, when I first, when I first immigrated here to the States, the culture that I was able to relate was, you know, the black culture. Most of my friends were black, played basketball, listened to hip hop music. I think to a degree, it's kind of like I admire that culture. I actually accept it and embrace that culture. And it's not so much about wanting to be black. It's just that I just liked it, right? It's no different than liking music. It's no different than me liking a different type of music or a different type of culture. And I think that's what not sure exactly what Jeremy Lin's intent was, in wearing dreads, but I think I can somewhat relate. As you can see, the black culture has obviously made it into the mainstream, with Asian Americans being underrepresented in the mainstream media. You look up to whatever you can closely relate to, right? Music, sports, and you start looking around. right? You start looking around, you start looking for idols, someone that you could follow. And it just so happened that, Jeremy Lin probably, and myself, I loved Michael Jordan growing up, loved hip-hop music growing up.
Well, I would imagine that since you played basketball, you were basically around a lot of black guys, let's face it. I mean, that's a predominantly black sport, so to speak. So being around black people like that, especially at a young age, you would also then be predisposed to a lot of hip-hop, too. And being disposed to hip-hop like that and basketball, and you're around black guys all the time, you're going to kind of pick up on some traits, you're going to pick up on some habits, and then eventually, especially amongst your teammates, you're almost going to be considered like you're black to a degree. Not that you are, but just the acceptance that comes with that. And maybe you can kind of also shed some light on it. If I remember correct, at one point in time, you had braids in your hair. Some crisscross style, Mac Daddy, jump.
You saw that on my Facebook, huh, didn't you?
What kind of response though did you get from two things? Actually, when you did that, one, what kind of response did you get from your teammates, and then two, what kind of response did you get out in public from people that weren't your teammates, that probably didn't know that you played basketball and grew up listening to hip hop and things of that nature? Was there a difference in response? What was the response?
The response were mostly positive. Actually, most of my teammates, they probably consider me as one of them. Right. Very close to them. We do everything together, play basketball together, go to the movies. We rode our bikes to the movies. I don't know what to tell you. I really thought, growing up, I was one of them. Exactly. To a degree, it's kind of like an assimilation to that culture on a smaller scale, as opposed to your mainstream. You get assimilated into the mainstream society. But my surrounding growing up was just that, was, breakdancing, hip hop, basketball. So, obviously, I pick up those traits, like you said. I pick up those traits, those qualities, and naturally, I started wearing dreads, started wearing, hip hop, baggy clothes. Now I'm 40. Looking back, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. My best friends around me never thought anything wrong with it.
Right, and that along the same vein. I mean, I had Asian teammates, and it was the exact same thing. It wasn't so much that they were trying to be black, but after they were around us so much, they just tried to be one of us. And I think that's a natural human condition where whoever you surround yourself with, you kind of have a tendency to kind of pick up on their traits and habits, the things that you kind of like when you're around that group. So for an Asian to be coming up, Jeremy Lin, he's obviously coming up around black people because he is a baller. He's going to be on all these traveling teams. He's going to be on super exposed to black culture. So of course he's going to embrace that. And from my outlook, he's kind of embraced it with a lot of respect and really an understanding of how the two cultures mesh, with a lot of respect for the black culture to me as he sees it. So I don't see it as him trying to be black. And that's why I kind of got a little bit, I wasn't offended by it. I just thought he was a little bit misguided. And I really thought that Kenyon Martin, being the type of baller that he is, I'm sure he's played with Asian guys and probably has Asian friends. I thought that he would kind of have that same outlook and understanding of, it's not about him trying to be black. He's one of us. He's into hip hop, so he might wear dreads. And personally, I like the dreads. I like the braids. I didn't like that high rooster cut thing. I didn't like the man bun. So I kind of pay attention to what Jeremy Lin does with his hair as a little entertainment thing. Some of it's cool, some of it's out there, whatever. But really, to me, like I said, it just really made me sit back and think about a lot of the similarities and a lot of the friendships that I had that got me to, because look, coming up as a little kid, I'm gonna tell you like this, I guarantee you a lot of people attest to this. If they were growing up black and they were around my age, in their 30s right now, coming up on 40, they used to sit there and watch kung fu movies every single weekend. And that was the only imagery that we had of Asian people. So we figured all Asians knew kung fu or karate, and you better not mess with them because even the smallest one could probably fuck you up. Like, we just had that weird stereotype in our head, and it wasn't until I got older, that I started to realize that's a stereotype that's kind of perpetuated and just shown to us, and not the whole culture. And not until I got older and started hanging around Asian people, even if you want to say Wu-Tang Clan, if you want to go back to Asian culture influencing black culture and vice versa, I thought that's a good example of kind of bridging the gap and showing from that era how both cultures kind of influenced each other and kind of came together to really form a good bond in between both communities. So, like, again, man, it kind of struck me as weird that Kenyon Martin had that type of response to Jeremy Lin, man. I say, if you want to rock it, go ahead and rock it, man. So, but just kind of, in a nutshell, you're saying you had no negative experiences when you braided up your hair and you had it like considered in a black style, right? You had support or
very, very little. I mean, my cousin would ask me why are you braiding your hair like that? But it's mostly like, okay, go ahead, do it. Express yourself. And I see most of your friends, who are basically all my teammates, were black. So I really didn't receive any negative attacks or anything like that, even out in public. I mean, I would get other types of racial slurs directly towards my Asian heritage, but not so much like you're trying to be black type of attack. I thought maybe because with teammates around me who are mostly black, I blend in. Maybe that mentality was there one time. But, not so much of a negative attack in private or in public.
Well, you know what? You mentioned something. You said that you didn't get attacked about your hair, but you got attacked about your heritage in general. Is that something that you kind of noticed and picked up on as you came to America? Did you kind of notice the racism towards black people?
Yeah.
Do you think that helped kind of make you see what they might have been going through to kind of empathize with them and relate?
Yeah, absolutely. After learning the history, of black people in the States, definitely relate. As first generation immigrants, it's kind of like starting brand new, right? You got to build yourself up. Respect is earned, is to be taken, right? So that's why I was so open and in a sense embracing the black culture, because I felt that you have to earn yours, and had to do that for myself. Growing up, as a matter of fact, I think my brother and I were the only Asian kids in school when we first came to the States. So that was definitely a culture shock, right? And then now you had to deal with the stereotype that you had to deal with, being unable to communicate, right? So we eventually made friends. I built myself. Started making friends. Got into the music, black music, sports, and everything like that. So. At that time, I really felt like this culture accepts me, right?
Right.
This culture was embracing me
as Terrence, right? Just who you were
as Terrence, right? If I was Kenyon Martin, I would totally embrace anybody that would embrace the black culture. Right, you have a white person or a Hispanic person wearing dreads, embrace it. Hey, they like that culture. They like your culture. For example, absolutely. If someone came to me and started speaking Chinese, not in a derogatory way, not like King Chang style type of communication, they're trying to talk to me, and trying to learn about my culture, I would totally embrace that.
I get it. Okay, man. So, one other thing, though, speaking of that, I wanted to ask you was, when you were growing up in Taiwan, were there any depictions or what kind of perception did you have about black people prior to moving to the States?
Honestly, the only memory I really had that was more vivid, that stood out, was just, this this white America image. The shows that we were exposed to, the culture that we were exposed to were mainly, depicted a white America. Neighborhoods with families and kids. They're mostly white. There was really not much of exposure about black people. So I didn't really have any, I guess, in any memory that stood out.
So you basically came here really not knowing what to think. That was kind of the first introduction to the black culture was when you got to the States, right? Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, like I said, man, when we were kids, our first introduction was the martial arts movies that would come on that we would watch, and then we go outside and try to mimic that stuff and beat each other up. So, like I said, that changed though as I got older and got to meet with people and really got to experience them. You obviously being one of them as I got older. So definitely appreciate our friendship, man. I can't let you get out of here without asking you your opinion on the Lakers in this upcoming season now that we're done with the preseason.
I'm excited. I actually have the tickets to the first game. I think, aren't they playing the Clippers first game?
Yeah, first game next week against the Clippers.
Yep. So I'm going to that game, and I'm excited. I think they got some talents, man. They just have to build this up. Give them about 20, 25 games, and I think, I don't want to be overly optimistic, but if they come together within the first 25 games, I think the eighth spot is within reach.
You know what? That's what the homie Jeremiah says. I don't see it. I can't even front. I don't. What you think about Kuzma, man, and how he's been playing?
Man, he's a surprise for sure. I'm very optimistic about him. He's got that mentality. He's got that eagerness. He's aspiring, so I'm excited to see him play, and I look forward to seeing him on the court in person.
For sure, man. I'm the same way. That's kind of my favorite Laker right now, and hopefully you and I can get together one of these days and get out to a game.
Yeah.
But I really, really appreciate you coming on, man, and chopping it up about this subject with me real quick before we get out of here. I got to make sure, I see it on Facebook all the time. I got to give a shout out to Jaden and all his teammates on the 3-Point Basketball Academy. I saw that they balled out last week and beat a traveling team with the older kids. So shout out to you guys, to the kids, the parents, the coaches. You guys keep up the good work. I definitely want to get out there and come watch you guys play one of these weekends.
Definitely, John. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man, no problem. Again, man, thanks again, my friend, for coming on. I'm going to get up with you soon. And this has been the West Coast Crossover, guys, with a special episode. Thanks for tuning in. And join us next time. We out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it.
Wrong with, another ethnicity, wanting to learn how to use chopsticks. It's the same thing.
I fumbled my way through chopsticks before.
Yeah, and you just embrace other people's culture by expression, and that's expressed differently, right?
Well, you know what? I remember when I was working with your company, and you guys actually took me to the authentic Chinese restaurant, not that BS that I'm used to in the hood, but you took me to the authentic place, and there was some stuff that I was like, damn, this is fire. How come this is not on menus all the time? And there was other stuff that I was like, hell no, I can't eat that. Like,
right.
I forgot, there was like pig liver or something. Oh, the thing that tripped me out. Y'all eat chitlins too. Y'all had chitlins on the menu. I was like, hell no. So, y'all be just, oh my God. Y'all had chitlins, that tripped me out. I was like, yo, y'all black too. I don't care what nobody says. If y'all eat chitlins and it's on a menu in a restaurant, that's some ghetto shit. So that tripped me out. So yeah, man, you get different exposure, different ways. And that was me working for a CBI was good. That was the most exposure that I had to the Asian culture, like in the rawest element. You know what I'm saying? Because I was the only black person there, and everybody else was Asian, and that's not a situation that I'm used to. You know what I'm saying? I'm used to being in a situation where if there's one Asian person, they're the only one there, and they're the minority. And everybody else,
it was totally reversed.
It was totally reversed, but it was cool. I remember y'all flipping through the office when that damn song come on. What was that song? Fly Like a G4, G6 or something like that.
Yeah.
That shit used to trip me out. Like, look, they niggas. They a song come on that they like. Work stops. And bossing around, work stops. They dancing and partying. So it was a trip, dude. And like I said, you know, meeting you is just like meeting one of the homies. So
For sure.
it was cool. It was definitely a good experience. But again, man, I appreciate everything, and I'll get up with you soon, and hopefully we can get out to a Laker game this year.
Yeah, let me look at the tickets that I have, the dates and everything. I'll send you a few dates, and then we'll get out.
All right, for sure, man.
All right, man.
All right, man. Peace. Have a good day, man. Go out there and sign some business.
For sure, man. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Later.